But I'm just saying the point is, how long do you try to bet against the Fed in an environment where the Fed is proven they can do whatever they want? And people that have tried to game the Fed have been wrong.
Well, betting against the Fed has, in fact, been very successful. The Fed has made a lot of mistakes. I mean, look at the disaster that happened in the housing market because of the Fed. And there were people that made a lot of money betting against the Fed. And, you know,
talking about 08?
Look, yeah, but yeah. The housing bubble inflated over a number of years. But also, if you bet against the Fed and bought gold, look where gold was in 1999, 2000. It was under $300 an ounce. The Fed is one of the main reasons it's now above $1,200. So buying gold is a bet against the Fed, and that bet has paid off more than stocks. Look, the Fed has screwed up this economy.
I just don't agree with that. First of all, stocks went from 650 or 666 and went up 3.5 times. Gold went from a peak and is down 2,000 bucks. I mean, you're in a place here where everything the Fed has done, you may not like Fed policy from a pure economic perspective, and it may be something that's a road to ruin, and who knows? I don't like the fact that we can't normalize interest rates either, but the reality is, to me, that has worked for asset prices.
But what? Yeah, but so what? It hasn't worked for the overall economy. Why do you think they can't normalize interest rates? Why do you think they're still so low after 7 years? Because this is a gigantic bubble. And if the Fed tries to raise interest rates, we will have a worse financial crisis than the one they caused in 2008. And so you can't say that this is a success. It is a complete failure. People just don't know it yet because the high hasn't worn off.
I think pumping liquidity in markets that were seizing up and actually had institutions that were failing right and left, this is the job.
The Fed lit the fire, and now you're claiming that we should give them credit for putting it out. But they didn't put it out. They put it out with gasoline, so it's coming back bigger.
But here's the difference with the Fed right now. The Fed is actually reversing course or trying to reverse course. So you're actually going along with the Fed if you're bearish here in a sense. They want to pop this bubble.
No. Well, no, they don't. So last thing, they don't even want to admit that it is a bubble. But why do you think on this show, when they first started doing this, when they launched QE, when they brought interest rates down to zero, I said it was a monetary roach motel. And I said that for a reason, because I said once they check us in, they can never check us out. And that's what they're finding out right now.
So where's the dollar going? Because he thinks it's going higher. Where do you think it's going?
I think it's going lower because I don't think the Fed is going to be able to deliver these rate hikes. I think we're going to get back to zero, maybe even negative. I think they're doing QE4.
So we're in a recession now. How much worse does it get then? If we're in a recession right now,
I think this recession, which
we're not in a recession.
According to him, hold on, let him.
You never know you're in a recession until afterwards. They didn't tell us we were in the Great Recession of 2008 until it was almost over, right? So I think by the time they revised the numbers, I think this recession that we're in now probably began at the end of last year, early this year.
How much worse does it get when they raise rates?
Well, I don't think they're going to. Eventually, the market's going to force higher rates. But I think this recession is going to be greater than what we now call the Great Recession. So we're going to have to rename that one because this one is going to be bigger.
It's going to be the worst recession.
Yeah, and I think whoever replaces Barack Obama is going to inherit a worse recession than the one he inherited from Bush.
All right. Peter, thank you for stopping by. It's always a fiery discussion with him. And happy birthday.
Happy birthday, young man.
Thank you.
All right, Peter Schiff, CEO of Euro Pacific Capital. All right, a lot to unpack here. What do you think,
to unpack. I mean, that was a good dialogue. Look, I'm in Tim's camp, and I think you look at Kyle Bass, you look at a lot of people that have been extremely negative and constructive on the market, right? There's an intellectual sort of ability to look around you and see what the Fed's doing and what other pockets of the markets are doing. But you have to separate things when you're reacting and investing. So I say to you, if you fought the Fed this entire move higher, you would have lost a tremendous amount of money. And if you listened to the intellectuals talking about the fact that there are things that are swaying, you would have lost, your shirt. So I look at it and say, be very careful. Don't necessarily fight the Fed under any circumstance or any other central bank that's really trying to debase their currency.